think he's still on there. Yeah. There we go. All right, folks, welcome back to the channel. Man, we've got a beautiful fall day. I mean, air temps are 70. It's been raining off and on, decent fish, and we're just kind of taking advantage of the conditions. Going to cover a little bit of water, see if we can get bit. First fish of the day came on the frog. This is that SPRO Flappin Frog 65. It's a pretty good one. Kind of that, I guess it's the red ear color, orange belly. 7'6" Virtus rod, and we got some sunline braid on there, and we're just trying to figure it out. There's rain off and on all day long, so we'll stay out here until we get ran off the lake, but keep catching fish. I ain't going nowhere. And one thing you're looking for is bait in this grass, and as the water temperature continues to fall and the days get shorter, you're going to get more and more bait in the grass, and that's going to draw more bass into the grass. And I mean, one of the reasons they get in the grass is because, you know, the grass is green. It sucks up a lot of heat, especially on a sunny day. You know, the water temperature might be in the mid 50s, but that grass is soaking up that sunshine, and it can literally be, you know, 3, 4, 5 degrees warmer in that grass, and a lot of the bait will gravitate towards that grass. Plus there's a lot of insects. There's a lot of vertebrae, invertebrates, or whatever you call them, little baby crayfish, insects and stuff, and the bluegill and shad will slide in there, feed on that stuff, and of course the predator fish will follow them in there. So it's always something to look for. Look for that popping in the grass, or listen for that popping in the grass, and just look for minnows and stuff shooting around. You know, there's definitely some bait in the grass. I'm seeing stuff shooting around. I'm seeing little swirls and stuff. And one thing I have noticed is the fish are kind of spooky. I've scared several big fish by casting over the top of them. You know, you make a long cast, and about halfway in that cast, before it even hits the water, you see this big swirl, and that's a fish that's sitting right there on top of the water, and it saw something fly over him and decided to bolt. Been down to get my damn water. So I blew up on it. Oh, I'm gonna have a belly. Ooh, that's a good one. Ain't as good as I thought. Yeah, they're all good. Another one on the same point. Typically when I'm doing this frog thing, this really starts getting good in the late summer, early fall. And I like to start out in these main lake points, because you kind of got to figure out where the fish are at. They'll make a little migration. Some of them will move back to the main, you know, the main lake coves and stuff, and they'll move to the backs of the creeks and stuff, but they don't all go at once. And you got to kind of figure out, or this is how I attack it. I usually start out on the main lake points and progressively work my way back. If I'm not getting bit on the points, then I'm going to move back a little bit into the coves. But as long as I'm getting bit on points, I'm going to keep running points. And, you know, I might slide back the first, I don't know, 50 yards maybe of a pocket off a main lake point. If you can get that pattern going, you can really cover a lot of water. And on a day like today, that's what we're trying to do. We're just trying to cover as much water we can and just hit a bunch of these high percentage areas. And we got a lot of rain. We got about 2 or 3 inches of rain. So the water's come up a little bit, and it's put a little bit of water on top of this grass. It's just kind of, this is probably a really, I haven't been over here in about a month, but I would imagine that this was a pretty good solid mat. And that rain coming down on top of that mat has kind of saturated it. So it's kind of moist. I love that word. My wife hates that word. But that's when this toad really comes into play. It's there's enough water on top of that grass that you can kind of slosh this thing through the water. And I'll talk a little bit about different ways to fish this sucker here shortly, but I'm gonna keep casting. Missed him. Missed him. Sure did. Sometimes, I mean, you miss, I don't want to say half of them, but sometimes you do. I've already missed 2 on this stretch. It's just kind of the way it is. One thing about this Flappin Frog is it's got this little white plunger thing that will come out on you. It can be a little bit annoying, but just pull it back up like that and just slide it in there. It's not too big of a deal. There you go. That's a fish. There you go. There you go, fish on the old beaver. Saw a fish kind of swirl up on my toad, and I flipped a beaver in there and caught that sucker. Stroked it a couple times. And little beaver stroking worked out for me just fine. That's something you gotta have with when you're doing the frog thing or the toad thing, is some sort of a follow-up bait. You know, if they roll on it, miss it, sometimes you can throw the frog toad back in there and catch them, but sometimes flipping like a little beaver back in there is the way to go. Just this is kind of a lightweight. It's only a 1/4 ounce, but I've got a punch rig rigged up with a 1 ounce, and then I've got this one a little bit lighter, and that was just kind of around a hole. So if you just got some holes, kind of open grass, you can flip a little bit lighter weight. If you need to punch through it, of course, you're gonna have to have like the 1 ounce or 1.5 ounces or something. They don't seem to be back here. Bait's back here. Bait everywhere. Fish to this point right here, and then we're rolling. That's a good one. There we go. Slurped it, man. You don't even know he's hooked yet, I don't think. Now he knows. Now he's digging. This fat fish. There we go, so made that adjustment. You know, we wandered back in the back of a cove, and I had 2 bites, but as we got back there, it just was dead. So put the boat back up on pad, ran out here towards more main lake stuff, and boom, we've had 2 bites in like 5 minutes. And I mean, the sucker ate it.
Welcome to Toad Talk, where we talk toads 24 hours, 7 days a week for the greatest and latest in toad catching technology. Whatever, dude. Cheeseball Central up in here. Toads are one of those baits that you don't hear much people talk about. It's all about like the buzzbait, the Whopper Plopper, the Choppo, the walking bait, just something you could throw out, cover water, reel it real fast. But a toad is one of those baits that works in those same scenarios, and I think it has an advantage over some of those other baits. Started out fishing the Zoom horny toad years ago. It's more of a finessey type bait. It doesn't throw a whole bunch of water. It's kind of stealthy, but it does have its place. And I also was mixing in the Stanley rivet back in that same time frame. The difference in the two, the Stanley rivet has like the boot tails, so it does gurgle a little more, where the Zoom horny toad, like I said, is super finessey. It doesn't throw off a whole lot of water. Both of them skip pretty good, but kind of the disadvantages of these versus the toad that we're getting ready to talk about, the toad that I was using in this video, is you kind of got to keep these things going. You got to keep them moving. They do not float. Sometimes that is an advantage, because if you're around holes in the grass, you can actually stop it and let this bait kind of sink down. Or if you're on the edge of a grass line, you can let it sink down. If you're coming through, you know, some docks and you get to the end of the docks, you get the point. You know, you can go subsurface with this because it doesn't float. You got to have a weighted hook, because if you just put like a big EWG on this thing, it wants to ride upside down a lot. So you need a little bit of weight on a hook. They do make some hooks for these, and it is good. You know, there are times and places for these, but the main difference in this versus some of the toads that are hollow bodied is they do not float. So you can't stop them. You can't keep them stationary if you want them to stay on top of the water. The Stanley Top Toad is the first, you know, throw out and reel kind of toad that I got my hands on years ago. Comes in a lot of really cool colors, and it's got a really good beefy hook that's got that weight on it and has a screw lock in there. So if you throw this bait out, most of the time it does land right side up. If it lands upside down, just pop it once and it typically wants to turn over. Really good beefy hook. You can, if you're fishing super heavy cover, you can put the hook points in the back of this thing. It does have a little section. I'll show you on this one. You might be able to see it a little better. But it has a little notch where you can kind of put the hook points, but I do not do that. You know, I've always just kind of let them ride like that. They suck up to the top of it. And I mean, really, you can barely feel that hook point, and you just get a better hook set. One of the cool things about this is it's got that screw lock. So once you got it tied on, you can unscrew this bait. If you're throwing black, you're not getting any feedback, you can unscrew this and you can put a white on, or you can put, you know, something with an orange belly. You can change up pretty quick on the fly. The frog I was throwing, I always call it frog, but the toad I was throwing in this video was the SPRO Flappin Frog 65. And it's something I discovered a couple years ago. I had somebody that left a comment on one of the YouTube channels about, hey, I see you fishing the top toad all the time. You should try the Flappin Frog. And it's a really good bait as well. There's a couple things you need to know about this frog. They've improved it, but if you've got some of the older frogs, they come with this little disc weight in the belly. If you have any of these and you have not, put some super glue around that disc, because it has a tendency after a bunch of fish catches to pop off. But this super glue, I mean, I've caught a ton of fish on this, and I've only had, I think, 2 of them after I put the super glue on there where the disc weight actually popped off. Here's one of them. This is actually the one I was fishing in this video.
Sucker hit it right off the grass line. It was violent. Why you gotta be so violent, bro? Why you gotta be so violent, bro? Now, unfortunately, something that will happen with these is there's a little disc weight in the belly, and that disc weight has a tendency to come out. So I didn't do it on these, but when you buy these, just take some super glue, put it around that weight, and just let it dry, and that'll really help that disc weight. It doesn't affect the action so much. It's when you cast and that weight makes the frog roll over. So without that disc weight, sometimes it lands upside down and the hook points get in the grass, so that can be a pain in the butt, but it still gurgles and stuff. So what I'll probably do here in a little bit is I'll just take just a small weight of some sort, maybe like an 1/8 ounce weight, put it up inside of there, and then take some Gorilla Glue or something and just kind of mend it together. And that should help. But you know, right now it's not really a problem. I'm getting hung up a little bit, but most of the time it lands and you just pop it one time and it kind of rolls over.
You can see where that disc weight was. It popped off, and I took just a lead bullet weight, stretched this out. There's a little hole there, stretch it out, put it inside of there, and then put some like fishing glue on there, and it works fine. So there is a way to mend that, but it is kind of a pain in the butt. The other thing that will happen on these frogs or these toads is there's a little plunger in there. A lot of times when you set the hook, this hook will slide back and the frog will slide up your line. It's real easy to thread that frog back up on the plunger. Just takes, I don't know, it takes like 20 seconds to do it. So not a big deal. But the new improved version, the disc weight is actually inside of the body. So you're not going to lose that disc. Now, here's something I want you guys to leave in the comment section. Those of you that fish this frog or this toad, let me know. I think the old style one with the disc actually has a little bit better sound than the new one with the internal disc, the external disc versus the internal disc. I think I'm still a fan of the external, although I don't know if you can even get these anymore. It seems like it makes a little bit, it digs just a little bit better. It may be in my head. I don't know. But either version is going to work really, really good. It breaks down pretty good. That's another thing with this internal weight on this. It doesn't collapse quite as well as the external for obvious reasons. I mean, there's some lead on top of the hook internally, so you don't have quite the clearance, but you got plenty of clearance to still catch some fish. It's got really good sharp hooks in it. Makes a really good gurgling sound. It actually skips really well. The Top Toad skips really well. Problem right here. This is made out of the same kind of plastics that the Z-Man is made out of, that kind of thermal type plastic. You got to keep these separate from your traditional soft plastics, or it'll get gimpy on you. You see that little wounded leg? This one's the same way. If you cut this frog off, actually, where was that? It's not that one. It's the other one I had laying up here. Anyway, you get the point. If you throw this next to a traditional piece of plastic, there's some kind of chemical reaction that happens, and it will be non-functional after a while. It just kind of starts melting. So you got to throw these all in their own little individual box, whatever it is. I just have like a little index card holder box, and I just throw all these in the box. But great toad. It's something you can just pick up and cover water in the same scenarios that you would throw a buzzbait. The advantage is you can skip it anywhere, and traditionally, I mean, typically it comes through cover work. You know, like a plopper, obviously you can't skip a plopper, and anytime you get around any kind of wood, a plopper's going to get hung up for the most part. Buzzbait is a little bit more forgiving, but this is more forgiving than them all, and it still has a pretty good gurgling sound, still draws a lot of attention, and you can throw this on top of mats just like you throw a frog. That's the advantage of this thing floating. You can throw it out and reel it, or you can throw it up on mats, pop it. When it gets to a hole in the grass, you can just stop it. It sits there and it floats on top of the water. Those fish get a good chance to look at it. There's a couple different ways to work it. One is just throwing it out and reeling it in. That works pretty good, but there's days when they want it thrown out, popped, chug it, so it's and then let it sit for a second, let it sit for a second. If you got really windy days, there's a lot of commotion, maybe the mats are kind of moving up, or even outside the mats, just kind of jerking it, just kind of popping and jerking it is good. And another thing I do is I throw out, reel it in, and I don't know, about every 5 seconds, I kind of double up on the reel handle, or just give it a little twitch, so it just kind of sprays. You know, it's coming along, and then you hit it again, it kind of sprays and sprays. That is another way to trigger reaction strikes from the bass. But if you pick up a couple of these, take them out. Right now is a really good time as the water temperature starts to cool. Fish are really starting to look up. If you've got an overcast day with some rain, put this in your hand, take off, you're going to get some bites. As far as the rod, 7'6", heavy. It's probably a really good one. 7'4", 7'6", something in that range. Braid is key. The Sunline FX2 is a phenomenal braid, but something in that 60 pound, 50 to 60 pound range. I don't know that the color matters, but I always like that green color. Maybe it's mental, but you definitely want something around 50, 60 pounds. I wouldn't go any lighter than that. You could probably go up to 80 or 85 or whatever, but I've had really good success with that 50 to 60 pound braid. There's a good bite.
Ooh, that's a good one. Get in here. Darn, boy, got some meat. That's how you want them to eat it. I put that weight in there, I glued a little weight in there, and I don't know, it's helping a lot because it was flipping upside down. Man, that's a good fish. And I mean, he ate that sucker. Dang, that's fun, man. It just started to rain and conditions are getting right. Got a little bit of a breeze, and this is exactly what you want to happen. There we go. He ain't little. He just slurped it. Nice. Set little. I thought he's like a 12-incher, but it's more like a 14 and some change.
Midday report. The rain has picked up, but the fish are biting, so we're continuing to cover water with that toad. It's been kind of like a main lake deal, mostly a main lake deal. I mean, I've slid back in some coves and doesn't seem to be happening, so we're just going to continue to hit some like main lake banks and main lake points and work out the rain suit. But it beats 100 degrees, I guess.
Pulled it away from him. Damn it. Happens fast, folks. It happens fast. Man, that never gets old. Oh, yeah. Ate it. Look at that. Ate it like he's supposed to. All right, it's gonna wrap it up, man. It got tough out here. That wind switched around to the north and a little bit out of the east, and we had a bunch of rain came through, and they just kind of shut off. But we did manage to catch several pretty nice fish on the old toad. It's a great way to cover water when you got these kind of overcast conditions and the fish should be aggressive. The water temp today was 75 degrees. This bite's just going to continue to get better. Like that mid 60s, like mid 50s to mid 60s is like prime toad water temp, and it's coming. So pick up a couple of these, man. There's several brands out there that work. It's a fun way to catch fish. I mean, there's nothing like a topwater explosion. It's like one of those deals that truly never, ever, ever gets old. This is a good color, this red ear. It's kind of got that orange belly. A lot of people throw black, a lot of people throw white, and those are great colors, but not as many people throw this color, and I think it's just something that can get you some bites. So thanks for coming along. Thumbs up, subscribe. Till next time. Kind of tough there the last hour or so.
Midday, I think I know you.
Yeah?
You're the 10 horse money
10
guy?
horse money, yes sir.
Yeah, you watch all your YouTube videos.
Wet horse money today, man. Soaker.